pizza delivery people, door-to-door salesmen, etc. What's the most NSFW thing you saw after ringing the doorbell? I posted this one on a similar thread a while back. A couple years back, I worked as a delivery guy for a pizza place. I go to a trailer in a really shitty part of town. I go there, and this older black lady answered the door. She went into another room to get some cash, I assumed. She comes back wearing nothing but an open robe, exposing most of her boobs. I noticed this, and tried to make as little eye contact with her, or her body as possible. I gave her the receipt and she said, "I can't make this sheet up. I can give you a different kind of tip." Those words still haunt me in my sleep. Anyways, I told her no thanks and left. That was one of the most uncomfortable experiences of my life. I am, now, aware that I was being recorded, and that this whole thing found its way to various sites. Found it. Might not be exactly NSFW, but I used to deliver regularly to this meth head who would be too fucked up to count her own money. She suddenly after 2 years got her shit together. She started answering the door in her work clothes with her hair tied up. Her house started getting cleaner. She never did get rid of the giant paper chandelier that was made for a living room much bigger than hers. I watched her relapse and get clean several times. I sincerely hope she's doing okay. Half-naked drunk couples about to or just finished banging. Occasionally groups of people smoking dope will order pizza because they know the pizza guy has to be cool with it lol. 2 guys offered me a hit from their bong as a tip, and when I politely declined they asked if I was some sort of ducking narc. I had to tell them that I had to drive back, and they were like, makes sense. I used to work as a personal tutor, nothing too heavy. I'd go around to people's houses in the evenings and teach their kids maths, English exam technique, that sort of thing, which meant that I usually got half-terms weeks off, as most people didn't really want their kids to have tutoring when they weren't in school. One woman didn't cancel her kid's class. I figured because they were coming up to exam season, so I didn't really question it, and so I went along with my little whiteboard and revision guides and everything, same as usual. The mother answered the door in a pretty expensive looking silk dress and gown. Unusual for her, because she always had a pretty strict straight to business vibe about her, and a full face of makeup, even though it was 5 o'clock in the afternoon. I've never seen such a look of disappointment on anyone's face before or since. She hurriedly explained to me that her daughter wasn't home, and she didn't want a class that week, thank you very much, and pretty much pushed £20, my hourly rate, into my hand for my trouble. Fair enough, no skin off my nose, free money as far as I'm concerned. I got back in my car and a couple of minutes later I saw a man who was emphatically not her husband head up the path at the side of the house. I'm not saying she was having an affair, but even enough I tutored the daughter for another 6 months. I never saw the husband again. Funny, that. Not really NSFW, but I deliver pizzas, and we have a regular named John. The first time I ever delivered to John, who lives in a duplex complex, I heard the most angry shouting from inside. I rang the doorbell, the yelling went on for another few seconds, and John came to the door acting kinda funny. He tipped huge, like $10 on a $15 order, and thanked me profusely, and closed the door. My first assumption was that John was yelling at his girlfriend/wife. This was not your average disagreement yelling either. Imagine a drill instructor yelling at new recruits, turned up 5x. I figured he probably beats the shit out of his wife, and was trying to cover his ass for being caught screaming, tipping me big to put me at ease, and make sure I didn't run to any authorities. Felt pretty sleazy. Turns out he's a retired Marine, huge alcoholic, and also suffers from pretty bad PTSD. He lives alone, with his dog, and is off 10 times beyond any form of coherence if he's been drinking. I found him passed out on his porch, unable to write tips, slurring everything into one long word. According to my managers, John's a super nice guy with some demons. I've come to conclude he is yelling either at himself, or maybe he's suffering from delusions or schizophrenia. It makes me sad to think about, but I always like delivering to him, because he seems so thankful every time. Edit. To all those concerned for the dog always appears happy, and he doesn't seem to be yelling at a dog. Yelling at a dog vs at a person is pretty different. He genuinely loves his dog and it's probably his only source of companionship. Partially NSFW but Marizo sad. Delivered to a trailer once. A woman maybe 35 answered the door. Behind her was who I assumed to be husband or father but couldn't tell. He was the most overweight person I'd seen in my life. Like the kind of person who is completely bedridden and has a show on TLC. He was naked, though it's not like I saw much more than his stomach. He was screaming at her the entire time I was there because she'd only ordered 2 pizzas for him instead of 3. This was in addition to a few subs, some wings, etc. that they'd ordered, presumably just for him. It was depressing, really, though they didn't tip. Oh Christ, my husband was someone's NSFW before. It was probably NSFL. Many years ago some of his friends got blasted drunk and ordered Chinese food delivery. One of the friends had a fetish French maid's outfit with a petticoat and garters and everything, and they all decided that husband should answer the door wearing it and hand the delivery guy money out of the garter for a laugh. Except my husband is stocky like an ox, and his chest hair starts at his beard and goes down to his feet. I didn't know him back then and there aren't any pictures, but probably he looked like a tribble in a fishing net. That delivery guy's likely still in therapy. This is my life. I'm single. My neighbor's single. We live way back off the road. Houses were originally built, and the same family lived in the 2 houses. Well, she came to me one day and asked if I would be offended if she did her yard work naked. Of course I would not be. Well, come to find out she's a nudist. She has people over a lot, and they walk around naked. Sometimes it's guy but mostly women. Some nasty, some not. I see a lot going on over there and love it. Best neighbor ever. This has nothing to do with pizza, but I'm happy for you. Yes, but the neighbor delivered. Man in only robe comes to door, asks if I want to join. I peek in and see 2 naked women on the bed. I hand him his pizza and leave. Edit. Guys, it wasn't a house. It was an inn or a hotel. I can't remember which on that, but it wasn't a house. That's why the bed was visible. Porn shoot in a motel. Guy answers the door wearing a robe. This motel doesn't provide robes. He only cracks the door open a little bit, but I can see a canopy set up on the bed. Motel doesn't have canopy beds. Some sort of spotlight on a stand is set up in the room, illuminating the bed. Porn shoot is the only explanation I could come up with. Different motel. Older, think 70s. Guy asks if there are any pawn shops around. I tell him where the closest one is. He then asked if I wanted a tip, which I of course said yes. He asked me if I wanted a BLOWJ*B. So let's see. People of various ages and genders coming to the door in towels, obviously fresh from the shower. Some even managed to keep the towels on the entire time. There was pantless Santa Claus. He was a regular. There was the woman whose black sweater became very see-through after stepping into the sunlight. You'd be surprised how often I deliver to a hotel and interrupt their sex. Breastfeeding women. More naked children answering the door than I'd like to admit. Regular. Orders about once a week. Always has multiple half-naked women running around his house. I would fully expect to see a table with a mountain of coke on it somewhere in his house. Just weird. Delivered to a trailer parked in someone's backyard. Guy pays for food, then says dinner's here kitties. And about a dozen cats come out of the surroundings and trailer as he sets the pizzas on the ground and opens them up. I noped out of there real quick. Bonus. Delivering to 2 10-year-old girls in a trench coat and a fake mustache. I've never laughed that hard on a delivery before. Edit. Yes, one was on the other's shoulder in one trench coat. I really wanted to take a picture, but being a 30-year-old guy, I thought it might come off wrong if I did. Edit. Oh, this one happened to a coworker of mine. She's 40 plus years old. She delivers late night to a DoubleTree hotel. After knocking, she hears a whispered voice on the other side of the door. Shit, it's a woman. Then after another moment, a 20-something blonde, wearing nothing but chain nipple clamps, answers the door. She hears a guy's voice in the room, but never sees him. After paying for the order, the woman tried to invite her into the room, but she noped out of there extremely quick. I told her that was either a potential penthouse forum post or a robbery/murder. This same driver also delivered to a hotel while the current Grateful Dead were touring through town, and as a tip from some old hippies, was given a small card that had a single sticker in it. I'm 90% sure that sticker was LSD, and I told her as much before she put the sticker on her face like she was going to. I can relate to pizza delivery people, etc. I work in hotels. Tons of crazy stuff has happened. One that comes to mind is a group of like 4 girls asked for some extra towels or something, and I was free, so I decided to run them up myself. The door is cracked, so I knock, and they tell me to come in. I walk in, and 2 are naked and the other 2 are in bra and panties. I'm male BTW. They didn't bother to cover up or seem embarrassed or anything. So I gave them the towels. They said thank you and I left. Can't say I minded, but it was very strange. I used to deliver for a certain papa of the pizza industry, and we used to deliver to this one pretty poor part of town that was mostly motels and Irish. A rule that most of the hotels had was that you couldn't go upstairs to the people, but I'm not waiting for Jim to come downstairs with his lazy ass when I've got pizzas getting cold in the car. First one was a hotel room with a few guys making a ruckus, and when they opened the door they're snorting either coke or meth off the desk at the hotel, then offered me some as a tip. Needless to say, I didn't accept. Second was this really chill guy who I know for a fact was a pot dealer. One day I guess he ordered pizza a little too soon after accepting a shipment. He and his co-workers had many large Ziploc bags on the table and scales out. Definitely felonious quantities where I lived. Finally was where I had a gun pulled on me. Not like to rob me, but because the guys were gang affiliated, and they thought that I was whoever they were hiding from. They gave me a $60 tip on a $25 order, so I didn't complain. Oh, and naked kids. So many naked kids in the trailer park areas. I went door to door for the US Census and had to complete the long form for a guy who was getting dressed for a drag show. It was nothing risque. He was behind a panel/dressing screen getting dressed. Also saw into another room with a whole bunch of S&M gear on the walls. What I remember was he was a veteran with a master's degree who worked for the federal government and who was making a shit ton of money. Doesn't surprise me at all. I know a couple. The husband is military, educated, macho, etc. Behind the scenes he and his wife do rope bondage, cross-dressing, hardcore BDSM, orgies, the whole 9 yards. People hide that shit really well when the other half of their life wouldn't accept it. I delivered pizza for a few years back in college. Once a reasonably attractive girl answered the door just completely naked. I got no sexual vibes from it. It was just a matter of fact thing. It was like a normal transaction, except she was naked. She wasn't trying to stay behind the door like she just got out of the shower or something. She just opened the door wide open and was standing there. Maybe she was a nudist. Who knows? The other one was just depressing as hell. Woman was very drunk, is coming on to me very hard, and I'm trying to get out of there. She's like, say you got lost for a while and come in. A, she was drunk out of mind. B, not that it matters, but she was not attractive at all. So I'm trying to just play dumb and get out of there, telling her I had other deliveries to take, and she asks me how old I am. I tell her, and she says that's how my daughter was when she died, and breaks down sobbing uncontrollably. I didn't know what the hell to do. I tried to console her a little bit, but I really did have a bunch of other deliveries in my car. I didn't even take her money and just left. I told the restaurant that nobody was home. Lady lived in one of the more exclusive developments up on a hill. Used to answer the door wearing a sheer robe, bikini bottoms and heels. She was probably in her mid-30s and drop dead gorgeous. She'd paid by check, writing it out on a table just opposite the door, bent over at the waist, showing off her RSS. She always tipped well, and I don't just mean the peep show. There was another lady who answered the door wearing just heels, but she wasn't attractive in any way. She asked if I'd come in for a while. Nope, I have a lot of pizzas to deliver. People were always offering drivers alcohol and drugs, weed mostly, but I know of a few that were offered coke. One guy pretty much ordered pizza every time he got high and would offer bong hits off of his super bong, which was tall enough to rest on the floor, but you hit it while standing up. he had some of the best weed too. The end. Thanks for watching.